Have you ever stopped to wonder why we miss the most those who pull away from us? Why the most generous gestures, when offered too often, end up going unnoticed? And why, the more we try to prove we deserve love, the more unworthy we feel? Machiavelli once wrote, "Men sooner forget the death of their father than the loss of their inheritance." This quote goes beyond politics or power. It unveils what truly drives human relationships: value, scarcity, and desire. Think about it. What is love, if not a silent dance between presence and absence, between revealing too much and knowing when to disappear? How many times have you given your all and received almost nothing in return? How often have you diminished yourself just to be chosen, only to be ignored? Maybe the mistake lies exactly there, in wanting to be chosen, because the man who needs someone else's choice has already lost control over himself. In this video, you won't find magic formulas, seduction tricks, or ready-made phrases from some guru who's never truly loved. What you'll find here is something rawer, more honest, born from centuries of philosophy, psychology, and human pain. I'll present 5 principles inspired by Machiavelli. They weren't designed to seduce, but when lived authentically, they make women, and people in general, want to be around you. Not through manipulation, but because you'll have something rare, a gravitational center of your own. Here, Machiavelli isn't just the political strategist. He's the surgeon of the wounded ego, the fractured mirror of modern masculinity. A man who understood that to rule a kingdom, or a heart, one must first rule oneself. If you're tired of pretending, of humiliating yourself, of chasing after others, if there's still a quiet strength within you, like an exiled king waiting to reclaim his inner throne, then this journey is yours. But a warning, these 5 rules don't bring comfort. They weren't made to please, but to set you free. And freedom at times hurts. Sit down. Breathe deeply. Let these ideas seep in like a slow poison or a necessary antidote. Because the moment you stop begging, that's when they'll start begging for you. There's a rare kind of man who, when he enters a room, doesn't need to say a word. He doesn't force charm, doesn't flaunt victories. He simply is, and that is enough. Have you ever met someone like that? While so many bow down, show off, or beg for attention, he remains silent, like an altar that knows the devout will come sooner or later. This is not arrogance. It's existential clarity. Machiavelli never wrote about romantic love, but he understood power like few others. And love, my friend, may very well be the fiercest and most unpredictable expression of human power. He said, "The prince must desire to be loved and feared, but if he must choose, let him choose to be feared." Listen to that from a different angle. Feared, here, isn't about aggression or domination. It's about respect. It's being perceived as someone of value, someone who doesn't bend, someone not easily accessible. And this is exactly where many men stumble. They offer their presence as if it were a favor, always available, always smiling, always saying yes. But excess erodes value. The more they give themselves away without discernment, the more they disappear in the eyes of others. Because love, like power, is not handed out. It is provoked. There is something unsettling, yet true, about feminine desire. She longs for what she doesn't fully possess. She is drawn not to what is easy, but to what is enigmatic. Not to the man who puts her at the center of his universe, but to the one who has a universe of his own, one she longs to enter. Do you know what happens when you chase a woman? You become a clearance sale, with flashing signs that scream, "Take me, I'm available at any price," and anything too abundant loses its value. Think of a rare perfume, tucked away in a small boutique in Paris. No ads, no flashy display. Now compare it to a free sample at the entrance of a mall. They may share the same scent, but which one would you desire more? That's how the mind and heart work. We crave what doesn't come easily. That's why the first Machiavellian rule of seduction is not to chase, it's to become the prize. Be the conquest, the mystery, the presence that doesn't impose itself, but is felt with strength and selectivity. It may sound like a game, but it isn't. Playing games means acting out a role. What we're proposing here is something else entirely. To live so authentically, so fully, so centered, that anyone who wants to be part of your life must rise to your level, not the other way around. Have you ever been the one who sends a message and stares at the screen waiting for a reply? The one who wonders, did I do something wrong? The one who gives everything and gets crumbs in return? If so, then you already know the taste of humiliation. And maybe you're ready for something stronger, the taste of transformation. This isn't about coldness or disinterest. It's about wholeness. Whole men don't chase, they walk with purpose. And those who truly love them walk beside them. To abandon your path in order to follow a woman is to move away from the most valuable thing you possess, your center, your sacred ground. Women, though they may not say it in words, are not looking for a man who places them at the center of everything. They want to be the eclipse in a universe that already spins. They want to approach something that pulses, something grounded, fascinating, but never desperate. When a man is truly present but not available at any cost, he sends a silent message. You are amazing, but so am I, and my life is far too precious to be sacrificed for a maybe. This kind of scarcity, born not from playing hard to get but from living a full life, is powerful. You want to be desired? Then become rare. Take care of your body, not out of vanity, but out of discipline. Cultivate your mind, not to impress, but because you value your inner silence. Build goals. Live your passions. Create something that is entirely your own, that doesn't depend on applause. And then, when you're too busy living your own masterpiece, she will feel your absence like a constant presence. And when she comes, it won't be out of need. It'll be because you stopped chasing, because you became a magnetic field. Nature abhors a vacuum. When you withdraw, something inevitably tries to fill the space, and desire, fueled by your strategic absence, your selective energy, your full life begins to grow. That's when the game changes, but not because you won, rather because you never played. There's a kind of silence that speaks louder than any word, not the silence of omission, but the kind that carries within it history, pain, triumphs, and mystery. That silence attracts. It doesn't repel, it invites. Do you know what exhausts a woman? A man who, on the very first date, unloads his entire emotional baggage on the table. My ex did this. My past was like that. My dream is this. In just a few hours, she's read the whole book, and books that are read too quickly are rarely read again. Now those who leave questions hanging in the air, who plant delicious doubts, they stay in her mind for a long time. Machiavelli said that a wise leader never reveals all his plans. The same goes for the man who wants to be desired, not out of fear but out of emotional intelligence, because when everything is said, nothing remains sacred. And it is the sacred, that which vibrates silently within us, that truly seduces. The feminine mind longs to explore. So does the masculine heart. Both want to discover, not receive everything on a silver platter. That's why the more you spill yourself out completely, without filter, without time, without mystery, the less room there is for imagination to play. And it's precisely in imagination that desire is born. Have you noticed how the most seductive characters in films rarely say everything they're thinking? It's not that they speak little. It's that they hold back more than they give. They leave gaps. And in those gaps, fantasy is born, and with it, true magnetism. You might be the most interesting man in the world, but if you emotionally undress too much, too fast, you'll soon appear predictable. And in the realm of seduction, predictability is like lukewarm water. It's neither remembered nor desired again. That doesn't mean you should be cold, unreachable, or absent. It means you should know how to guard parts of yourself like one guards relics, with reverence. An untold story, an unspoken trauma, a dream held quietly in your gaze. That's the space where feminine curiosity blooms. She'll look at you and think, who is this man who doesn't need to explain himself? Why doesn't he try to convince me of anything? Is he testing my intelligence or simply respecting my time? She'll study you, observe you, search for your flaws and your fears. And the more she tries to decipher you, the more entangled she becomes. You become an enigma, and the enigma is the most powerful invitation that exists. We're not talking about manipulation. We're talking about ritual. Love, when it's real, is born as a ritual, not as a data report. And a ritual requires time, discovery, patience, and tension. You need to be like that dimly lit room in an old mansion. With every door she opens, there's something new. And yet, she still feels she hasn't seen it all. That lingering sense of there's still more is what keeps the fascination alive. Show layers, reveal fragments, but guard the core. Let her see your strength, but hide your scars for a while. Show your intelligence, but don't hand over your emotional map. Give her access to the garden, but keep the sanctuary locked. And yes, maybe one day she will earn the key, but only if she's brave enough to deserve what lies within, not out of vanity, but because everything truly valuable demands trials. This silent game, where you don't lie, but also don't give everything away, is what separates the ordinary man from the unforgettable one. And in the world of seduction, being unforgettable is far more powerful than being briefly desired. Remember, it's not about being an eternal mystery, but about becoming a universe someone longs to enter and never fully reach. Because in the end, what keeps desire alive isn't what we know. It's what remains to be discovered. There's a quiet scene that plays out night after night in the lives of many men. He looks at his phone. No reply. He rereads the messages, analyzes every word, every comma. His chest tightens. And then, in a moment of impulsive desperation, he types once more. Are you okay? Did I do something wrong? Why did you disappear? That is the exact moment when attraction vanishes. Not out of cruelty, but instinct. Because the man who cannot contain his despair becomes emotionally fragile, and no one desires what seems ready to collapse at the slightest breath. At the heart of Machiavelli's philosophy was this truth. The true leader is the one who doesn't flinch in the face of chaos. He may bleed on the inside, but on the outside he stands tall, because he knows those who show too much weakness before the enemy earn neither respect nor victory. Now bring this into the realm of love. The enemy is not her, it's your insecurity, your desperate need for validation, your impatience to receive guarantees before desire has even had time to grow. You need to understand something profound, almost brutal. Uncontrolled emotion is an invitation to be disregarded. It doesn't matter how much you say you love, care, or want to be close. If your words are soaked in anxiety, urgency, and dependency, they don't seduce. They suffocate. Women perceive. They feel. They don't need a manual to notice when a man has lost touch with his own inner compass. And in that moment, what was once attraction turns into pity. What was once charm becomes discomfort. But the man who masters his emotions is not the one who represses them. It's the one who understands and governs them. This type of man radiates something rare: stability. She may cancel a date, take long to reply, tease, test, provoke again. And him? He simply observes with a slight smile and continues with his routine. Not out of coldness, but from emotional discipline. Because he understands that he does not bend to the fluctuations of the external world. His inner universe is not for sale. This man is rare, and precisely because of that, he is desired. He is like a sturdy tree in the middle of a storm. It may sway, but it doesn't break. And every woman, whether consciously or not, seeks that solid trunk she can trust. But here lies the essential truth. This man is not born overnight. It takes practice. It requires going through silent pains, making mistakes, reacting poorly, apologizing, and learning little by little, to breathe before acting. Because when you can observe your own emotion rising and choose how to respond, you are no longer a reactive being. You become sovereign over yourself, an inner emperor. And that's when she starts to respect you. Not out of fear, but because your calm radiates security. Your pause reveals intelligence. Your lack of desperation communicates value. That serene coldness is not a lack of love. It is the mastery of not being consumed by what you feel. It's feeling everything and still remaining centered. It's loving without humiliation, wanting without crawling, caring without losing your honor. Because the man who explodes at any provocation, who demands immediate answers, who panics in the face of silence, becomes predictable, fragile, emotionally insecure. And that which is fragile does not attract. At most, it triggers a maternal instinct, but this is not about being cared for. It's about being desired. So, next time chaos threatens to invade, breathe, return to your body, quiet yourself within, and remember, you don't need to prove anything to someone who can't see your worth. The man who keeps his composure in the face of an emotional test is not suppressing his humanity. He is honoring his sovereignty, and that balanced coldness doesn't just attract, it inspires reverence. Remember the first time you stayed silent when you wanted to scream, or when you let a disrespectful act slide out of fear of seeming too difficult. How many times did you swallow the discomfort and smile? How many times did you confuse submission with patience, kindness with passivity? Men like that multiply and die inside. As Machiavelli observed in the games of power, kings didn't lose their kingdoms by the strength of enemies, but by the silent concessions made against their own principles. A bit of territory given here, another there, until they no longer ruled anything. In seduction, this happens every day. Eager to please men say yes when they want to say no. They tolerate irony, cancellations, provocations disguised as jokes. And behind every concession, a piece of respect dies. You think you're being kind, but she feels she's facing a man who doesn't value himself. And desire slips through your fingers. Why? Because respect is the womb of desire. A woman may laugh, flirt, and play with an overly kind man, but if she doesn't respect him, she doesn't desire him. And respect is born at the boundary. The boundary is the sacred border of your territory. It's the line that says, you're welcome up to here. Beyond this, no more. A man without boundaries is not a territory. He's a doormat. Picture two scenarios. In the first, she makes a joke that belittles you, and you smile, as if swallowing poison with sugar. In the second, she makes the same joke, and you, with a firm gaze and calm tone, reply, "That kind of comment doesn't sit well with me." In the first, you win a laugh. In the second, you win respect. And more than that, you awaken desire. The man who sets boundaries carries a silent message. I am valuable. I won't be treated cheaply. That disarms. That attracts. That touches something primal. But beware, setting boundaries isn't shouting, threatening, or attacking. It's communicating with firmness, elegance, and calm. It's saying no with the same ease as saying yes, because you are not afraid to lose. And that's exactly what intrigues her. She realizes you are not attached to the outcome. You are attached to your dignity. And here lies the paradox. The more willing you are to lose her in loyalty to yourself, the more she feels she has found someone truly worth winning. Think clearly. The man who accepts everything out of fear of being alone is already alone, because he has abandoned himself. But the man who remains whole in the face of provocation, contempt, emotional instability, that man radiates something rare. He doesn't need love. He chooses to love. And that changes everything. Women often test boundaries, sometimes consciously, other times without even realizing it. It may be due to past experiences, self-protection, or simply to see whether the man in front of them possesses true inner strength or just a facade. They arrive late, disappear for hours, make last-minute plans. And behind each of these actions, there's a silent question. Do you value yourself enough to say no to me? And when the answer is yes, when you decline with firmness and calm, when you walk away without resentment, when you say naturally, "This doesn't work for me," something shifts in the air. She realizes she's facing a man who doesn't seek approval, but commands respect. And it's on that solid ground that real lasting desire begins to take root. A no doesn't drive away the right people. It simply dissolves games, exposes the illusions, and clears space for something real to flourish, something built on mutual admiration. Saying no is a sacred act. It's a silent prayer that says, "Before I belong to anyone else, I belong to myself." And the man who understands this isn't just attractive. He inspires respect, carries presence, and is often feared for his inner solidity. There's a scene many men know all too well. She arrives with striking presence, beautiful, intense, mysterious. And without realizing it, everything begins to shift. Your workouts are postponed, your goals are forgotten, friends fade away, your routine bends to her rhythm. Suddenly, you've become a satellite orbiting a new moon. But no matter how mesmerizing a moon may be, it was never meant to replace the sun. Machiavelli once said, "He who depends on luck or the goodwill of others will never be free." In love, this truth becomes even more brutal. Want to be desired? Then stop acting like a servant, become a king. The sovereign man does not live for the desires of others. He forges his own path. He doesn't wait to be chosen. He chooses. That's not coldness, it's maturity. It's the clear understanding that no one is coming to rescue you. And when love finally knocks at your door, it must find a kingdom already built, not an emptiness waiting to be filled. Yes, the sovereign man loves, and he loves deeply. But he never abandons his training, his projects, his mission. He keeps creating, striving, building, because his purpose is bigger than affection alone. And here lies the most uncomfortable truth of seduction. The more you walk toward your own truth, the more she will want to walk beside you. Not because you ignore her, but because you don't worship her as if she were your salvation. Your life already has meaning. She doesn't arrive to complete it. She arrives to enhance it, to celebrate it. Sovereignty begins within. It's waking up early without applause. It's keeping the promises you make to yourself. It's doing what must be done, even when your heart begs for distractions, sweet scents, and seductive promises. To be sovereign is to know. Passion fades, but purpose remains. Desire may blur the vision, but discipline brings clarity. It's holding your center even when she shakes your certainty. It's standing firm, even when the urge to give in feels unbearable. It's remembering yourself, even while loving. Because you don't just want to be someone who loves. You want to be someone who, even in love, doesn't lose himself. And that's what the right woman will see. She won't be drawn only to your gaze or your words, but to what lies behind them. Structure, direction, integrity. She'll recognize that beside her stands not a boy starving for validation, but a man in motion, who invites her to walk alongside him, but not lead his steps. This man doesn't demand, doesn't beg, doesn't dramatize. He simply lives, and it is this living, full, conscious, and purposeful, that draws her in. Not out of need, but out of admiration, because deep down, she doesn't want just love. She wants direction. She wants safety with passion, presence with freedom, strength with tenderness, and only a whole man can offer that. The one who does not fear solitude because he has made it his advisor. The one who built his throne from within and had the courage to sit on it. You can be that man, not when she comes back, not when life becomes easier, but now, by choosing your battles with wisdom, by silencing your impulses, by rising even when your chest is burning, because that's what kings do. They feel, they desire, they fall in love, but they never kneel. 5 rules, 5 sharp blades, not pointed at others but inward, not meant to manipulate, but to remind. To remind you that deep down it's not about winning over a woman. but about not losing yourself in the process of desiring someone. You stop running, not because you gave up, but because you finally understood, to be desired you must first be whole. You stop over-explaining, not out of coldness, but because you've learned that mystery is not absence, it's depth. You master your emotions, not to seem indifferent, but because you've realized the world is already full of men who fall apart at the sound of silence. And you don't want to be another one. You want to be the axis, the foundation, the difference. You learn to say no when needed, because you've grasped that a yes only has value when it's born from a clear boundary. And above all, you follow your mission, because the kind of love that's worth it doesn't pull a man off his path. It walks beside him, or it's left behind. So if you've made it this far, look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you the hunter or the altar? Are you waiting to be chosen, or living like someone who has already chosen himself? In the end, Machiavelli wasn't just talking about politics. He was speaking of something far more intimate. The power to stay firm when everything around you calls you to kneel. Can I tell you something I've never admitted out loud? Years ago, I was that man. The one who sent messages that were way too long. The one who changed his plans just to please. The one who erased himself to avoid seeming difficult. And do you know what I discovered after a brutal rejection? That what I was offering wasn't love, it was submission, dressed up as affection, and the worst part? Even I had stopped respecting myself. It was in that abyss that I met Machiavelli. Not in books, but in practice. In the cold, raw, and necessary decision to become sovereign over myself again. I built walls where there had only been open doors. I stopped giving to those who didn't know how to receive. I stopped chasing love and started walking alongside my mission. And like magic, or perhaps as the inevitable consequence, everything changed. Because when you change on the inside, the world reorganizes itself around you. And love, the real kind, starts being drawn to who you are, not to who you're trying to appear to be. If this video stirred something deep within you, thank you. Not just for listening, but for having the courage to face the mirror with no emotional mask. This conversation doesn't end here, it's just beginning. And now, if you haven't liked, commented, or subscribed, seriously, my friend, you just listened to a raw emotional war plan and you're still just watching? Drop a comment below. Which of these 5 rules hit you like a punch to the gut? Or which one are you still resisting because you're afraid to lose something that maybe was never yours to begin with? And of course, subscribe, because the next video showing up on your screen, it's almost forbidden. There's something in it that makes a lot of men lose sleep. But you'll only know if you click. Go ahead. I'll be waiting in silence. Because true power lives in the right kind of patience.